It was said by Imam al-Ghazali, without a doubt, Allah's attribute of will is the attribute of choosing one of two possible things, the attribute of specifying, the attribute of deciding whether something will happen or not. The attribute of making decisions, in short, this is the will. It exists, it is present, meaning it is existent and fixed. With what? With Allah's essence. What does it mean for it to subsist by His essence? It is not accidental. It is not dependent on another place, another essence. Allah forbid. It exists together with the essence of our Rabb. Among what? Among the other attributes. What are the other attributes? Life, the vitality of Allah. With whom does this attribute subsist? With His essence. Knowledge, the attribute of knowing. With whom does it exist? It exists together with His essence. The essence cannot be separated from the attributes. The attributes cannot be separated from the essence. According to Allah's Sunnah, these cannot be separated from one another. Where will the attribute of hearing be? Of course, with His essence. The attribute of seeing with His essence. The will to intend something. The attribute of intending for something to exist or not exist also exists with His essence. How so? Alongside His other attributes, which also subsist by His essence. Now here it warns against the Mu'tazila, because the deviant sect of Mu'tazila says, the attribute of will only comes into being at the moment when Allah intends something. Allah forbid, it happens later, it is created. Impossible. The attribute of speech, when Allah commands something to Gabriel, or to Israfil, or to the angels, they say the attribute of speech emerges at that moment. It happens later, meaning it is created. But for something to subsist by His essence means it is eternal, meaning it has no beginning. It means it is pre-existent. If you say that when He commands something, the attribute of speech emerges and comes into existence, you are separating His essence from the attribute of speech. This means the attribute of speech did not exist in pre-eternity. Why? Because in pre-eternity, He was alone. There was nothing else He had created, nothing else existed, let's say. And if nothing existed, there was no need for speech. There was no need for will. For instance, life, vitality, knowledge, knowing, hearing, and so on. For Him to have a will regarding something other than Himself, something had to exist, but nothing existed yet. That is why they say will was not needed at that time. They say the attribute of speech, the attribute of speaking requires an audience. And if there are no audiences, if nothing has been created yet, since there is no audience, whom will He speak to? They put forth such invalid views and thus claim the later emergence of the attributes of will and speech. That is, as created things emerge over time, these attributes that relate to them also appear afterward. Allah forbid. According to Allah's Sunnah, such a thing is impossible. What is stated in the text of Al-Amali and in the Creed of Maturity, that both the attributes related to His essence and the attributes related to His actions are eternal. This is very important, because what are the attributes of His actions? Creation, bringing things into existence. Since everything is created afterward, was Allah a creator in pre-eternity? Of course, He was a creator. That attribute was established with Him. When the time came, He put it into action. That is a separate matter. But that attribute existed with Him. If you say He was not a creator before creating, Allah forbid. What does this mean? That before there was anything to hear, He was not a hearer. That before there was anything to see, He was not a seer. That before there was anything to speak to, He was not a speaker. What have you done? You have stripped Allah's essence of His attributes in pre-eternity. This creates a concept of Allah where Allah exists, but He has no knowledge. Why? Because there is nothing to know. Allah forbid. Allah indeed exists, but He has no attribute of hearing. Allah forbid. Where there is no hearing, deafness is implied. Where there is no knowledge, ignorance is inevitable. Where there is no hearing, deafness is inevitable. Where there is no sight, blindness is inevitable. And indeed, there is nothing else besides Him. He has not yet created. Of course, in pre-eternity, He had not yet created, and nothing else coexisted with Him as eternal. Only His essence is eternal, pre-existent, without a beginning or a prior cause. Indeed, everything else has been created later, is contingent, and is subsequent to Him. However, Allah has always been described with the attributes of life, knowledge, hearing, seeing, will, power, and speech, even in pre-eternity. The attribute of will, to create something or not create it, to bring it into existence or not, to make decisions between existence and non-existence, to declare a judgment or make a decision needed during action. At the moment of implementation, during the act of creation, it can be thought about. But even before that, Allah was described with these attributes. The attribute of will subsists by his essence. What is being described here? It is present within his essence, established by his essence. What does this mean? Does his essence have a beginning? No. Is his essence eternal? Yes. Is it pre-existent? Yes. Just as his essence is eternal and pre-existent with no beginning, the attribute of will also cannot be thought of as absent at any point. Whenever his essence exists from pre-eternity to eternity, the attribute of will is also inseparably with him.